I expect Kelleher to go as well. Suddenly there's, certainly 4 players who will need replacing. So there you go.
So Kelleher, would you have a buyback clause in there?
No. So actually, that's. But then the thing is, who you're selling him to is going to accept that.
Well, I think if Liverpool are clever about it, they could sell him to a Premier League, sort of middle of the road Premier League club who might accept.
So who's going to sign him,
for example?
But Bournemouth's who's to keep a Neto, isn't it?
No, I know, but I'm not saying specifically them, but I'm saying that sort of size club who might be willing to do it. Because I think with Kelleher, I mean, if Liverpool could get something like that in a deal for him, then you could allow him to go without. Because it's hard, isn't it? I wouldn't really necessarily want to see Kelleher go because I think he's such a really good talent. But if they can have a sort of deal like that, it just protects their investment.
Yeah, if I was him, I'd be wanting to go.
Yeah,
because he knows quite well he's not going to play ahead of Alisson. But by the same token, he can't just go to the first club that comes in for him. Like, for example, Nottingham Forest made a bid for him in January, and if Forest came back in for him, I wouldn't go to Forest. I think he's better than that.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. I think
he should go to a more settled club then.
Yeah, and I think he's played in 2 cup finals. You know what I mean? He's won them both. He's played in. You look at the big games this season that he's played in against City at home. Things like that. He's played in the big games, so he want a bit more of that. And so even if he ends up going abroad, he'll still want to go to a leading club in, say, Spain, or when I say lead, I don't mean top, but I mean just underneath that.
Yeah. I remember speaking to Kelleher in Dubai, and didn't get the impression that he was in any way keen to leave for first team football. And I spoke to him again, maybe it was like a week later at Man City in the Carabao Cup, and again the subject of his future come up, and he just seemed really laid back and just nonplussed and happy with his lot and keen to just play as and when he was named. But there was definitely a shift in tone with his interview that he's done with James Pearce this week for The Athletic, where he's got a good taste now of first team football. I think he played 26 times, including Wembley with the Carabao Cup and that big game against Man City, which he references in the interview, and he basically says it's time now for me to become a number one. So he's realistic in that he thinks it might not necessarily happen at Liverpool while Alisson is still at the level that he's at. So that means looking outwards, and Liverpool are in a good position in terms of his stock is at its highest at the moment. If they sold him last year, probably wouldn't have been after he hadn't played that much at all. But I think Liverpool have got a good chance to use this opportunity to try and get as much as they can for him. The question then, though, is who did he get in as Kelleher's replacement? Because I think there's a little bit of a shift in thinking now with number 2 goalkeepers, whereas it's not just a case of getting an experienced fella on loan, just in for nothing, in the same way they did Adrian 5 years ago. I think now number 2s tend to be obviously a rung below by definition, but still quality keepers, and how much of that do Liverpool want to spend their money on is an interesting one for them to tackle.
Well, they've needed it, haven't they? I mean, Man City needed the crucial part of the season as well, so I think more and more those
even
sorts of
Arsenal,
players.
You don't know who their number one is really. Ramsdale and Raya.
How much would you be wanting for Kelleher then? Remember, Liverpool turned down 15, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was later dismissed privately by Klopp in no uncertain terms, shall we say.
I think it depends again. If you could get a buyback clause in there, you would probably accept a lower fee straight up if you can get a buyback clause. If you can't, then I honestly think Liverpool should be looking at 20 plus.
Oh, easily.
I'd be looking at 25, 30.
Yeah.
Well, Chelsea bought Robert Sanchez for 25 million last summer. Arsenal got Raya for 40.
Yeah.
So he's around that, isn't he?
Yeah.
That ballpark.
He could be playing for Tottenham every week. I'm pretty
Tottenham's keeper's quite good. I know you're going to say that kind of thing.
Yeah. But Banksy 97.
I wonder who he might be. Yeah,
he says
enigmatic
Newcastle. Newcastle should be all over Kelleher. Absolutely, a club like that should be. So clubs should be banging down. I'm sure they will be banging down Liverpool's door for Kelleher. We'll do for Adrian.
But again, it shows that there's not many clubs will be able to afford it. You see what I mean? It's like if Liverpool want that price, you're looking at Celtic were mentioned. They're never going to pay that money. No chance.
No.
And I think where else is he going to go? France, Italy, Germany. Germany wouldn't be a bad move.
Doesn't strike me as someone who'd be keen to move to Europe though.
But you look at, say, for example, what was it, Slot and his final team? The first thing he said was, "We're going to do all the team talk." The same thing in English. just because it was easy for everybody. I'm not saying they're going to go to Germany to do that, because but the point is that there is this kind of acceptance now where players come over. It's like even in Liverpool, these parts of them speak Portuguese, don't they? So not overall, but there is that acceptance that it's more of there are more than one language. So I don't necessarily see that being a problem.